Okay, good seeing everybody. I know you're on a tight schedule here. Appreciate you being here. What questions do you have?
There's been a lot of talk about the defense and how it's good. What has impressed you the most about what what this team has done defensively?
Well, I just think defensively, I feel good about the steady progress. I feel like, we had a vision. Players understood the vision. It's built around the talent that we have, and what we had. And we haven't really changed course. We've stayed on course, and we just tried to improve. So the guys have done that. It's starting to show up in a real good way the last month or so. And we've got to keep getting better. We've got a long way to go.
Speaking of the progress, when you start off at the beginning of the season, you know how much work you got to do to improve as a football team. And to start to see those strides come into play over the last month especially, but just over the course of the season, just how gratifying is that as a coach and to know that your process is working?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I think any coach, any teacher would say the same thing. When you see your students or your players, start to have success, in ways that you've kind of envisioned for them, it's very rewarding, Then again, it's tempered in our league, especially by the fact that, you're coming up against a great opponent the very next week that's very capable of making everything go in the other direction at any time. So, but our guys are really good, Kyle. I mean, they do a great job of keeping it simple and understanding the challenge in front of them and just trying to play it one play at a time, one practice at a time, and get ready for the next game. I feel really good about our guys. I mean, Lamar thinks that way. Calais, Marlon, Marcus, all those guys feel that way.
Jason Pierre-Paul sort of lost in the talk yesterday, but he had a sack, quarterback hit, 2 tackles for a lost interception. What's the other depth of your defense? You got more guys coming back now, too. Right. What's it say about you guys being able to play with so much depth there now?
Yeah, it says a lot about the depth. It's definitely a major positive. I mean, it's one of our greatest strengths has been our depth, and that's something that's really showing up now, that especially that we're healthier and getting healthier. But JPP, he just was on fire. He was on fire the whole game, and to see it finish up with that interception, man, that's really rewarding. And he wanted to go down there and get that picture, I think. You saw at the end of it, so that was pretty fun. But proud of him. Broderick Washington. You guys, nobody talks too much about Broderick Washington, but he's been a very, you use the word steady, but I would say a very physical force in the middle of the defense, really all season. So, we have a lot of good players playing good football.
John, you guys are on a 4-game win streak now. To start the season, you guys were kind of searching for that consistency. When you were 3-3, if you can remember, did you feel like you guys were kind of at that crossroad point in your season at that point?
No, I didn't feel that. I just felt like we had a chance. We talked about we had an opportunity because of the things that showed up, that actually cost us games, for it to really get our attention and to force us to really chase perfection in everything we were doing. And so the guys haven't forgotten that. So going into this week, I know the guys are going to look at the things that we have to do better, and they're going to chase perfection in those areas. Sometimes if you have success when you're not playing that good, or you make mistakes or whatever, it doesn't matter. It gets smoothed over and kind of brushed under the carpet, and then it comes back to haunt you later. So we have a lot of things to work on that way. I don't want to lose sight of that one lesson that we learned early in the season that kind of helped the guys focus on all the little details.
John, I think Rashad was frank surgery over this weekend. Do you have any updates on how that went, and just anything longer term that you can share about his recovery process?
Right. It sounds like it went great. The doctors told me it went well. Rashad texted me back, said it went really well. He's, I don't know what doctor tells you it's a bad surgery right after. But I think I say it jokingly because I think it went really well. So don't take that the wrong way. By all accounts, it went great. He was in great spirits, and the good thing is he got it in a kind of a time frame where it should be a quicker recovery than it would have been if it had been a worse injury. So it was an injury that needed the surgery for sure, and I think absolutely the right thing to get it done at that time, and it's going to make for a really good recovery. That's what I was told. So I know he's excited about that, and I don't know what the time frame is for him coming back, but it's going to be good for next year.
Any updates on Staley or Hamilton following that?
Yeah, Kyle and Ronnie. We don't have the final word on those things yet, but I would say it's definitely trending in the right direction based on what we know so far. Ronnie still has an MRI to get, so we'll find out the final on that. But it was trending really well last night and this morning, and Kyle the same thing. Kyle, the x-rays look good, so it's trending in the right way, and his knee's stable and all those kind of things.
Hey, Coach, last night in the locker room, Chuck Clark mentioned to you when you asked him for a speech that he was already thinking for the next game. What does it mean to you that the players already focused, locked in on the next game?
It means everything. I mean, it's the thing that you hope for as a coach. You know, you kind of dream of that. You want your guys thinking one game ahead. You know, you want them starting to prepare already for the next game. And yeah, appreciate that. Chuck's a great leader. You know, Chuck is the kind of guy that guys respect. I mean, he had a pretty good little rib deal there, you know, and he was hard for him. He wasn't in any mood to give a speech, but he said the right thing, and he's right.
Coach, you mentioned Broderick Washington a moment ago. I know the D-line, you had given them some major props in week 1, and a little bit sprinkled throughout the season. They've quietly been making an impact. Is that what you're seeing from them, the personality of that group for this defense? Yeah,
I mean, I think that they've had mostly a really good year, you know, but there have been a couple, you know, plays here and there or stretches here and there that they'd want back, and that's the same thing. They went to work and to fix those things, and to me, this game yesterday was indicative of who they are. It was dominant. It was dominant in the run game. It's a team that had been averaging, 180-some yards a game, but they get 30-some, you know. And then even with the pass rush, the pressure all day, the batted balls, it was just a dominant performance.
PQ and Roquan played 100% of the snaps next to each other. What are you seeing from those guys as they kind of bounce off each other and kind of feed off each other?
I think they got a great chemistry already. You know, I don't know. We talk about working on chemistry, and sometimes chemistry is like love at first sight, right? To me, it's kind of that way with those two guys. You know, they are working well together. I mean, and it's only going to get better. I love the way they're playing.
John, when you see Lamar, sometimes after some penalties, he will express his frustrations. When you see him kind of punt the ball afterwards, well, what's kind of your reaction when you see something?
I think to myself, mental note, we're going to have a word about that, you know. They could call that delay a game, you know. So, no, we can't. That's not something we're looking for. He does it in practice. It's probably my fault for tolerating it in practice sometimes. So I'm going to tell him it's my fault. So we won't do it in practice anymore then either, you know. But, yeah. I mean, the penalties were a problem yesterday. You know, that I think we had 2 drives. We had a holding penalty and we had a face mask penalty. You know, that was a tough one. But I understood. I can see what the referee, Jerome, saw. So I can understand why he called it, but it wasn't technically, he didn't pull it, but I see what he saw. And then the holding penalty, you know, just those are a minimum of 6 points, maximum of 14 points that we let go there.
And just kind of a strange question on the other side. I don't think I've seen a snap infraction called. Why wasn't that like a live fumble, you know, on the Carolina side yesterday?
Which one was that?
When Bozeman kind of dragged the ball on the ground and it was a pre-snap penalty, not a live ball.
He got it stuck. Shoved it, but then they stopped the play.
I don't know. I don't have the answer for that one. That's a great question.
Coach, I'm sorry. Devin Duvernay, he led the receivers in snaps yesterday, only ended up with 2 catches. 2 touches. When it comes to him, I know he gets the ball in a variety of ways. Does it really depend on the type of looks you're getting in terms of the plays that are called now?
Yeah, we probably had, I would say 8 to 10, maybe that's a little high, 6 to 8 runs that where he would have gotten the ball in reads, that he didn't get the ball in reads. Obviously, numerous passes where it just didn't come his way. But, you know, that's something that it's a double-edged sword. You know, D-Rob got 10 or 9 or 10. And it's a little bit of a double-edged sword. It does go a little bit week to week. But I think we've got to say to ourselves as coaches, we need him involved. You know, we need to find a way to get him the ball. So we understand that it doesn't always go to a guy, even when you call it toward a guy. But by the same token, we got to keep chasing that because we want the ball in his hands.
John, in these grittier games where points feel at a premium, tend to rely on some special teams plays to be made. Didn't look like they were quite as much made though on Sunday. Just what did you see out of your special teams unit?
Great question. I just think we didn't make the plays. I mean, we were all over the punter. We took one bad angle off the edge there where we ran into the punter, and that was just technique. I mean, that's just a bad angle. But we almost blocked 3 punts. We should have had a punt return, a big punt return. We kind of misjudged the lane a little bit on that one. So I thought the guys played super hard. I mean, the special teams, the whole team played super hard. And you could really see it on special teams and defense in terms of like flying to the ball. I mean, there was some physicality out there in all 3 phases. So when you have that, you can work with okay, now we can make this play or make that play. Let's keep chasing the technique when you guys are playing like that.
Back to the inside linebackers for me. With Patrick Queen, it looks like he's playing his best ball yet. I know it's been a gradual, kind of steady improvement, but is there anything you can point to where you've really seen him make strides?
Yeah, I can point to all the different little plays that he's making technique-wise, but from a big picture standpoint, I would just say that he's just gaining confidence and some comfort in the fact that just play with poise and you're going to make the plays. I think he's the kind of guy that always wants to make plays so bad he almost overshoots his target sometime. And now he's just kind of taking a breath before he pulls the trigger. They say you got to calm, take a breath. My wife tells me that. She does that, and you can't be breathing hard when you pull the trigger. Sometimes you got to do that, and I think he just does that. He's playing a little calmer, and for that reason he's making more plays.
John, we saw Gus show up on the injury report Friday with a knee designation. He was still questionable on the injury report, so is that just a very minor thing that kind of compounds with the hamstring?
Just couldn't get to the game. It was one of those things that we really thought. I'm not going to say I was told, but there was some optimism that he would get to the game, and it just didn't quite work out. He just couldn't do it, and you could see it. I could see it in practice on Friday and Thursday. So we'll hold out the same hope this week. I think he'll get there, but it just got to be right. A guy's got to be ready to go and be at his best. And he's working hard. Gus wanted to go, believe me. He wanted, all those guys want to go. Same thing with Deshaun. He's another guy to be in that category.
Yeah, with Deshaun Jackson, we haven't even seen him at practice. How bad is the hamstring?
It wasn't supposed to be real bad, but it just hasn't quite come back as fast as you want it to. So he's working really hard to bring it back. He's a little older. It probably does take a little more time. I hope he doesn't get mad at me for saying that. But he's working at it, and it's going to be back. Hopefully this week. We'll see. Okay, great. Thanks. All right. Enjoy the soccer game.